On the next episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, I welcome Keith Batenhorst to the Buck and Honey's remote studios. Keith is the founder of the Mental Mountains Project, a nonprofit helping people afford mental health care, from battling anxiety and depression at a young age to struggling with alcohol to finding purpose in sobriety and climbing mountains for charity. Keith's story is one of resilience, recovery, and giving back. This will be a good one. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What is up wherever you are, whatever you are doing? I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to another episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Decora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios on the east side of our great capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and YouTube at Survive and Thrive 8791. You can follow the podcast and get access to previous episodes on Facebook at Survive and Thrive 8791. The podcast. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the show. Leave me a comment if you like what you heard. If there's a topic or you know a guest who would love to share their story, email me at tdecora@gmail.com. Glad you could join us. Our mission is to share stories and conversations that make you cry, laugh, and think, stimulating emotions, creating laughter, and inspiring the mind. A new episode will air on Monday and Thursday morning featuring a wide range of guests. The podcast will touch on many subjects such as, but not limited to, grief, loss of a loved one, recovery, professional setback, mental illness, success despite challenges, etc. Our guests will share how they learn to survive and thrive. And just a little show note that Thursday coming up here is Thanksgiving 2025, and we will not be airing a show on that Thursday. I will be stuffing my face with turkey and mashed potatoes and stuffing and maybe a piece of pumpkin pie. How about you?
I'm actually going to be in Italy.
You're going to be in Italy. Okay.
Thursday, I will be making pizza from scratch.
Making pizza from scratch, maybe stuffing some fettuccine Alfredo in your mouth or...
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. Before I introduce our esteemed guest, I'd like to highlight our website, surviveandthrive8791.com. You can see what we are doing and the events we are hosting. If you are a business or an advocate for mental health and recovery, we invite you to partner with us through sponsorship opportunities, and we are looking for somebody to sponsor the mental health desk. So if you want to have your stuff talked about, come and sponsor us. Please contact us at surviveandthrive8791@gmail.com. This is our guest and episode intro. And according to the internet, and the internet is always right, correct, Keith with a chuckle?
Absolutely. Everything you found is spot on.
Everything I found is spot on. Exactly. Well, in my house, I don't need the internet. I don't need Encyclopedia Britannica. I don't need Siri or Alexa. I'd get my wife, Sarah, and she's always right.
Fully concur.
Fully concur. All right. According to an AI, artificial intelligence overview, approximately 1 in 5 people with an anxiety disorder report using alcohol to cope with stress. More specifically, 20% of individuals with social anxiety disorder also have an alcohol use disorder. This is sometimes referred to as self-medication, though it often leads to worsening symptoms over time. And our guest is going to talk a little bit about his anxiety and some alcohol use issues that he had growing up and into his adult life. Today, I welcome Keith Batenhorst to the Buck and Honey's remote studios. Keith grew up in Berlin, Wisconsin, and attended Berlin High School and is a proud Indian. After high school, Keith would take his talents to the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, where he would graduate with a degree in business management and has enjoyed a career in the building supply industry. Today, I'm so glad you could join us. Keith Batenhorst, what is up?
Things are really good. As I touched on, taking a little siesta away, going overseas to Italy, going to hang out in Rome over Thanksgiving. Just too good of an opportunity not to take advantage of having that little 5-day weekend. And really needed a little reprieve for myself, as we'll touch on shortly here. Gearing up to basically get into our fundraiser for next year, where I'm attempting in March to cycle up the Big Island's volcano of Mauna Kea. So once I get back from Rome, it's fully lock in, and winter training as a triathlete, mountaineer, trail runner. Once I get back in December, I know that the majority of time for that's going to be spent grinding indoors. So one last little trip overseas here to kind of just clear my mind, and then when I get back in, be able to fully lock in and do what I do for Mental Mountains and try to inspire and build a community around being outside movement as a way to overcome and combat anxiety.
Absolutely. There's a couple things I want to, that you tripped a couple of chords. First of all, the first one is that my niece was over in Italy about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she was sending Snapchats, and you know who she got to see and was like 50 feet from was the Pope. In the Pope Mobile on Wednesday. So you'll have to look, and I don't know if you're a big Pope guy, but the Pope
who isn't?
Who isn't? There are some people, unfortunately, there are some people, but on Wednesdays, apparently he does a big mass and he blesses the people that come to the mass. So I would suggest looking that up, possibly.
I wish I could one up, but I'd say my biggest Italy encounter so far has been Mr. Clooney.
Mr. Clooney.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. And they're making a new Ocean's
They
14, I believe. We're a big Ocean's family. But then the other thing that tripped my trigger, and if you need somebody on the advanced team in the trail or the van, I would be happy to join you and check out that climb that you're going to be doing. I will not be on a bike following you, but I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the van.
I've got quite the crew actually taking me up Mauna Kea. My niece and nephew, thus far, I don't know if they're rooting against me or rooting for me. I have a little mini golden doodle, and they both have claimed status if I don't make it up Mauna Kea, that they both will get Kobe in my afterlife. So it's unclear yet right now if they're on my side or against my side, but they're going to be crewing me up along with my brother and my sister-in-law. So we're doing a little family trip, and they're going to act as my crew members that day.
Wow, that's crazy, because they'd actually be pulling for death in this thing, and then they're going to get. I
think it's tongue in cheek. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I was just hoping that it was going to be tongue in cheek, but yeah, to be able to claim a uncle's dog, and his name is Kobe. Kobe Bryant or
It
Kobe
is.
Beef.
No, Kobe Bryant actually got his name from Kobe beef.
Oh, I thought I was going to get you on that, but that's exactly right. Mm-hmm. But before we get to your story, I need to talk about our sponsor. Our sponsor, Buck and Honey's Restaurants, are a place that people can escape to. For me, it's a great escape from cooking dinner. Do you cook dinner? And if so, genre-style cuisine.
Used to be a huge dinner guy. Back when I was in Milwaukee, every Wednesday night, a group of my friends, we'd rotate through and we'd cook. I found myself always, I would say, leaning towards the grill, whether it was ahi tuna, we grill steaks
Really?
out. I'm a huge Italian cuisine fan, not to just keep hitting the Italy button, but anything and all things to Italy.
So with their great food and drink menu, 5-star customer service, and a welcoming and vibrant atmosphere, people keep coming back with locations in Sun Prairie, Monona, Wanakee, and Mount Horeb. Most communities in Dane County, which encompasses the Madison metropolitan area, can get to a Buck and Honey's within 10 to 15 minutes. I got a little drum roll here. And that's my very acoustically sound table. Have you been to Buck and Honey's?
I have.
You have. Which one? Ooh, putting you on the spot here.
Ooh, the Monona one, all three to be honest, but the Monona one.
There's 4.
Oh, there are. Okay, well.
Sun Prairie is the home office.
Sun Prairie, Wanakee, Monona. Where's 4?
And Mount Horeb.
Okay, I didn't know that.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite Buck and Honey's menu item?
Item. They have a Korean bowl, which is just out of this world.
Yeah, they do. And also they have a veggie centricity, I believe, which I like protein in my stuff, but a couple of guests came on and said, you got to try the veggie centricity. You got to try the veggie centricity. Finally, I decided to try it, and it's freaking good. But I'm always I try everything on there, but I always go back to the Bomber's Special Pizza, and I've been eating that since 1984, way before you were born.
Yeah, just a touch before I was born.
Just a touch before you were born, yes. Or on the podcast, our guests follow the format for sharing their story like this. In segment 1, we talk about what was it like, Keith's history, what happened to get Keith on the podcast. And in segment 2, we continue to talk about what happened and get into what it's like now. And we discuss Keith's 5 suggestions for thriving. So you grew up in Berlin, Wisconsin, and that's, I would say, kind of south central, southeastern Wisconsin, just a little ways from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and Fond du Lac, in that little soft spot. What was life like growing up in Berlin, Wisconsin?
Your classic central small town Wisconsin. group of friends. Everybody knew everybody.
Couldn't step out of line without the parents knowing.
No, there was no sneaking around in my household. My parents actually met at the vet clinic in town. My dad eventually bought into ownership there, and they both were very dedicated. My dad was an equine vet specialist.
Okay.
So when you're in the equine world, equine
Horses.
Yes. Actually, have a connection coming up in the near future where a friend of my dad's is now an equine therapist, and we're going to talk about how they can actually partner with Mental Mountains down the road.
Ooh.
But my parents were very dedicated to that. And, it was something where they were always in and around the facility, making the family business grow, did everything they could to provide for us. So initially, when I kind of left and saw how other households ran, I looked back on my childhood and wondered, did we miss out on something? And that's not a reflection. Now I know of what my parents were doing at that point in time and how they raised us. I look at it now knowing that, running a business, running a nonprofit, they gave everything they could just to provide for us and did the best they could with what they had. Look back on it now, was raised the right way, have a good moral ethic background. Couldn't ask for better friends when I was growing up. I know the circle of friends that I ran with, probably I was the black sheep of that group because they were all very, very talented athletes. And I always joke with my friends, I should have had more of an affinity for track or sports that didn't involve a ball, a net, etc. I have 4 feet, 2 left hands. Anything that has to do with hand-eye coordination is not my bag. But if you just need me to do something really hard for a really long time, I'm totally your dude. I should
Run fast, jump high.
Yeah.
Go as long as you can before you fall over.
100%. If you just need, I'm really good at turning my brain off, really good at engaging something and just embracing that suffering. And I can stick with something for a really long time.
And we're going to get into how some of the things you can do for a really long time because they're really cool. I mean, when you started to talk about some of those things and how we met, we'll discuss later, but it's pretty impressive some of the things you've been able to do physically. Getting from one place, starting spot to another place is extremely hard, which we'll get into. So you're the middle child.
I am.
You have an older brother and a younger sister. Talk about them.
Yeah, older brother, he's got 2 little ones. So I got a nephew and a niece. They're about 2 years apart. Totally my world. Try to be as involved with them as I possibly can be. My family was separated across a couple states. So my dad's side was in Nebraska. Mom's side here in Wisconsin. And grew up, both families were very hardworking, dedicated farm families. So with my parents running their business in town, equine veterinarians, if you have a horse that's sick, you need to be on call basically 24/7. So we didn't do a lot of traveling, didn't do a lot of family events with my Nebraska side outside of 4th of July. Didn't spend any your traditional holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's out with my Nebraska side. So I was very cognizant of that when my niece and nephew were born, that I wanted to create memories with them.
Sure.
And have made a cognizant effort to not give them gifts, tangible things, but actually do experiences so that I can create more memories with them. So my brother, growing up, very, very skilled athlete, the opposite of me. Endurance sports, not his thing, but great baseball player.
Short bursts.
Oh yeah, great baseball player, stocky, strong guy, farm strong. I mean, growing up a farm family, he was one of the guys that they would tap into his skill set first before mine, 100%. He's an engineer now, but he was always somebody that was very creative, very skilled with his hands, could grab any piece of equipment and just felt natural with it. If it's not an Allen wrench from IKEA, I'm not your guy to put something together. So we are definitely...
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, we are complete opposites in that regard. But very good role model for me, and that kind of taught me work ethic. And it's actually how I ended up at the business that I am involved with professionally now. Was he was on their team for about 5 years through high school and college, and the way he performed, his work ethic actually gave the Batenhorst name like a great name internally with that company. So when I was applying for internships, being a Batenhorst, he had basically like...
He laid the foundation.
Oh, yeah. Like he was such a great team member for them that I could have showed up without a resume. And
you did show up with a couple of left feet and a couple of left hands.
I could have showed up without a resume and I was guaranteed a spot.
All right. Hey, let's not forget the younger sis.
She's great. Wish that we would have been able to spend more time together, actually. She was 5 years my junior, so I had graduated from high school when she was graduating from junior high. But continued to come back throughout college. A lot of it was coming back to my hometown was a reprieve because that was like at the absolute depths of what I was going through from depression and anxiety. So coming back home was definitely a place where I felt safe and a place that I could come back to every year. And I wouldn't say hide, but it was a way for me to like have a sturdy foundation and a place where I could feel like some, solid backing from my family. So I got to spend a lot of time with her when she was going through high school, and we developed a bond that way. And she's been through, as she grew up, been through a lot of her own things. I don't want to speak on her behalf, but has had a lot of stuff that she's evolved through as a human being, and that's definitely at times pushed us apart. And now that we've rekindled that bond and started a new foundation, we're in talks actually of her potentially joining MMP, and she's a triathlete, very skilled athletes in the endurance world as well. She's completed 2 full Ironmans and several halves. Her boyfriend is an extremely skilled mountaineer. He's going to tackle Gasher Brum 1 and 2. If you're in the mountaineering world, those I would say are in the top 10 most difficult climbs in the world, and he's going to tackle both of them this summer. So I'm pretty fortunate to be around some pretty inspiring people myself.
Well, it sounds like, so you followed your older brother.
Yep.
And then your younger sister followed her older brother and you, and it just kind of went down the chain of command, and it's really worked out for everybody in the long run. You graduated from Berlin High School in Berlin, Wisconsin, and you're a proud Indian. What were some of your favorite memories in high school?
Gosh, that's like, 20 plus years ago now. Well, when I think back,
you're ancient.
Yeah. When I think back upon it, high school was a tough time for me. I had a great group of friends, was, in homecoming court, on prom court. So it wasn't like I wasn't a popular kid, but...
Or heavily involved, you were.
Yeah. Athletes, academically, had a lot of success. I think if I would look back upon like what were my greatest memories, it was really the diversity of people that I associated with. Kind of prided myself on not being tied to any one group, and that worked out to my benefit, and then got me in trouble a little bit down the road as well. But tried to always have a heart and give everybody a chance. There was definitely times when you do the thing that doesn't feel right, and you pick on the kid because your friends are picking on the kid, and there's some things that I'm not super proud of at that point in time, but always felt like, hey, when I was engaged one-on-one with somebody, that I was present, I was with them. If kids sat next to me in class I didn't usually talk to, made an effort to get to know them, because I knew I was hiding in plain sight with what I was going through. And even I realized now, I don't know if I was making a conscious choice at the time, but knew that there was, like, everybody was probably going through a similar situation that I was. It might be quiet, and always wanted to make an effort to, hey, the kid next to me in the locker, how is his life going? Talk to them. And I wasn't super popular, wasn't handsome and all the things that usually get you. I wasn't a star athlete that usually get you on like those different, that usually gives you recognition in high school. And I think that the reason I did, or what felt like as a popular kid, was I made an effort to connect with all the people that felt like they weren't seen, felt like they weren't heard, and attribute a lot of my, happiness at that point in time to having a huge network. Like, it's not like, it's a very common thing, but like your network is your net worth. And I surely hope that I've been able to keep a lot of those connections over the years, and they feel the same way.
I'm sure if we brought a bunch of Berlin people in here,
Berlinites,
Berlin, they would probably say the same thing, and you made some people's day probably along the way. So after high school, you would take your talents to the University of Wisconsin La Crosse. Did you have any other suitors?
I did. I actually got accepted to Madison.
You did?
My brother went here. He's just smart as hell. So didn't want to follow in his footsteps. Like,
wanted to break off.
For whatever reason. It's like I think everybody at that point in time, like, you don't want to follow in somebody's footsteps or be in somebody's shadow. And he was going to school to be an engineer here. I certainly did not have that part figured out. But with my parents being from Nebraska, it's not the most stunning drive. You drive through cornfields.
I have taken that drive once.
I've taken it probably 20, 25 times. And the only thing that isn't flat is La Crosse area. And as a kid, that was always my favorite part of the drive. We didn't travel a lot as a family growing up. So to me, like, La Crosse was the Alps. I was like, there can't be a more beautiful place on earth.
Granddad's Bluff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I knew that something in me kind of always felt like I wanted to spend a part of my life there. So once I found out they had a university, it was, I mean, if there was other suitors, there didn't need to be. There was only one apple for my eye, and I picked La Crosse pretty much on the spot once I took a campus visit. And
it's hard not to like that, because on the one side of campus you got the Granddad's Bluff and trails and state park, and then on the other side you've got the Mississippi River.
It is in Mississippi, yep.
Yeah, so you got the water there kind of going right next to the university in downtown and the school. And I've had former students go there and friends from high school go there, and it's just everybody's in shape there because it's got a very strong physical education program, and then exercise science, and then that's what I heard is it's one of the healthiest universities, colleges in the country because of all that stuff going on.
Yeah, if you like anything outdoors, it's absolutely spectacular. The whole area is, and
the Cooley region.
Had several friends. To your point, one was a strength coach for the Chicago Bulls for a number of years, a head strength coach, and then had another friend who's been with OKC, the Pistons. If you go to La Crosse for a PT career, pretty much out the gates, you've got an advantage over a lot of other schools out there. So
you would start working at a local building supply business and turn that into your career. What do you like about being in that profession? And I know before I hit the record button, we were talking about some of the people that you have helped build homes, and you won't share who those people are because of some privacy things, but it was still pretty cool to hear. Anyway, talk about why you're still in the building supply business.
Well, I'll go back even further. So in La Crosse, I graduated fall of 2008. So for whatever reason,
bummer to be in the building business, probably. Home industry was tanking and
depths of the housing crisis, and I thought it was a great idea to get into construction at that point in time. Truthfully, it was because I had worked at a golf course. Basically as my only job, was the only thing on my resume. So when I was graduating from La Crosse year prior, wanted to diversify my resume a little bit. Knew someone from the golf course that was in management at Drexel Building Supply in Berlin at the time. So I jumped on, took an internship there, and then when I graduated...
Plus you had the last name Batenhorst.
I did, yeah. That was shooing. So when I graduated, I would have loved to stay in La Crosse. It actually was my thought process, but very blue-collar town. So there really were, unless you wanted to get into a dock, shipping, train job, there was really no job opportunities in La Crosse or the greater area. Vividly remember dropping off my resume, and a sweet gal at the front desk had told me, she's like, you're probably 100 resumes deep, so we're never honestly even going to get to it. So good luck. Yeah. So called the local lumberyard and said, I'll do whatever. If that means driving truck, if that means sweeping, took that kind of blue collar mentality, said I'll roll up my sleeves and do whatever, because I can't sit around and play Mario Kart with my buddies anymore. So took a shot. They had a position open as a driver at the time. So drove truck until I could stand out, and eventually got a office position, and continued to work hard. Knew nothing about construction. Did not think I'd ever end up in a lumberyard. But just, it's a wonderful, wonderful company. And what I love about it is that anytime I've ever wanted to grow, they've been supportive. I've never been told no. It's just been, right, show me how, right? And if I put in the effort, they've always backed me and supported me.
You're in a better mental frame of mind, and physically and emotionally, spiritually, you're probably making that place a much better place now.
Surely hope so.
I think you would agree with that, and we're going to talk about that. So because our listeners want to hear the rest of your story and what brought you to the podcast, I need to talk about our sponsor one more time. Buck and Honey's has been with the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew since the beginning, with 4 locations in the Madison area. One is always near. People ask me, why Buck and Honey's? Owner Tom Anderson places a high priority on the mental health of his employees. He has a mental health professional available for them should they need support. I don't know how many businesses go above and beyond their EAP, Employee Assistance Program, but Buck and Honey's does. Keith Batenhorst would start to experience anxiety and panic attacks in high school. Along the way, he started to use alcohol to slow down the vibration of anxiety in his system. In segment 2, you'll find out what he is doing to slow that anxiety instead of alcohol. Please stay tuned. Don't change that channel. You're not going to want to miss segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. We will be back.
If you, a loved one, or someone you know is experiencing a physical, mental, or emotional crisis, there is help and resources out there. Contact NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness Helpline, at 1-800-950-6264. This is a free service providing information, resource referrals, and support to people living with a mental illness, their family, providers, and the public. United Way 211 is available 24/7, 365, and offers free confidential assistance. They connect people with the local programs and services that can help. Dial 211. Emergency Crisis Services, dial 911. The Suicide Prevention Lifeline, dial 988. To connect via web, chat, visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Along with those numbers, there is help. You just need to say 3 words. I need help. Now, back to the show.
We are back. Welcome back to segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Tim DeCora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios on the east side of our great capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. The podcast is where we feature guests who share their story in hopes of helping others who may be struggling with what life throws at them. Today, I'm glad to be joined in the Buck and Honey's remote studios by Keith Batenhorst. He's here to share his story about how he has found coping strategies to cope with anxiety that had plagued him since high school and then, maybe before. Segment 2, you mentioned being an athlete in high school, playing basketball and golf, but eventually settling on golf because of anxiety and panic attacks from basketball. What was happening? What caused that?
Yeah, so a bit of a twofold story. So growing up, when I hit my teens, started to develop like really bad acne. And I mean like head to toe, face, back, neck, acne. And toughest part for me was, open gym, show up. And if we were doing shirts and skins, did whatever I could just to
be a shirt.
Yeah, did whatever. And if I was a skin, would run to spots on the court where I could hide just because I was so traumatized by what it looked like and definitely internalized that and saw myself only one way as somebody that had to be hidden. So as I grew from, freshman, you travel around, it's in the side gym. So it wasn't like there was a lot of people that would attend our games. And then JV, had a couple moments where I was starting to play pretty well and had acne under control, but then my junior year got really bad. So I just literally couldn't imagine being center court, couldn't imagine being in a varsity game and being, for lack of a better term, exposed to the whole world. So I had made a decision that I was so frustrated one day at practice with just how I looked and how I felt and knew I was a really talented athlete that I just decided that in one day in practice, I was going to go at 100% until I literally couldn't anymore. to the point that I remember like some guys on the team like grabbing me by the back and being like, "Hey man, like it's his practice. Like you can tone it down a notch." Like I ran as hard as I could, hustled as hard as I could. Any scrimmage, like I was in our A players grill, and I remember like going off to the side to grab a drink because I was completely spent and like could feel my heart like beating against my chest wall. I'm like, I was okay with it because I was so sad about how I looked, how I felt, how I internalized everything, that I was like, I know I can do this. And I'm like, if I drop dead on the court today, I'm cool with it. And was just going to expend every ounce of energy that I had. And that was first time that I think I cracked open like that part of my brain where panic was a thing. Didn't know it at the time, but it probably was a good 6 months later, because when I got to the end of my junior year, I decided that I wasn't going to play sports anymore. Didn't want to be, couldn't fathom being in the locker room, kids making fun of me. Felt like I had a strong connection with friends, but like dressed to hide, hoodies, quarter zips, like anything that would cover my body as much as possible. That's why I actually started playing golf, was I could wear clothes and do something athletic and not be seen, so to speak. And you're out golfing in the woods, right? Like there's not a lot of people stopping by to check in on you. So it was a way I could stay tethered to be doing something competitive. And why I'd never pursued track and cross country was I didn't want to wear the singlet and be exposed to everybody. So I did everything that I could to hide. And at the end of my junior year, just decided I was going to drop out of all sports, and lost that part of myself, lost the competitive feeling, lost the thing I would do till 10 o'clock at night, shooting hoops or going to the driving range and pounding golf balls. And knowing such a diverse group of friends, feeling lost, I started hanging out with my friends, stopped hanging out with my friends who were the athletes and pursuing positive things in life. And because I needed to fill that addiction void, which I had previously filled with athletics and being obsessed with something, I started filling that with things that would calm that anxiety vibration, and started drinking as much as possible with friends, smoking marijuana. I'm not proud of this, but like had a painkiller guy. Didn't know what opioids were at the time. Just knew it was. I actually thought it was like benign, like something just like Tylenol. Like I was taking a stronger version of Tylenol. Didn't have any idea that that could actually be something that could almost, ruin your life. And so I was taking painkillers before I'd go to school in the morning because that mellowed me out. Sometimes you'd take a shot of whiskey. Had all of it in my golf bag in my room, so no one was ever rifling through my golf bag from my parents or anything. So I kept that pretty hidden.
Good place to hide stuff.
It was, unfortunately. And that was really how I decided to cope almost my entire senior year. It's sad looking back upon it. It was cool for me then not to excel in school. So I started actively like making a choice to get poor grades because of the new group that I was running with. And it was enjoyable for me to just mellow out, take the pressure off myself. I didn't feel the pressure of athletics anymore. It was just, I spent every moment figuring out a way not to stand out and how to remain kind of behind the scenes. And it's really sad. Was a very talented kid, very talented with academics, and really all I needed to do for whatever reason, we couldn't figure out the right medication to mitigate what I had going on with my skin and appearance and how I felt about myself. Like the worst things were, I remember like, somewhere in high school, I was like crying going to sleep because I was like, I don't ever want to pass on like this genetic thing that I have to a kid. I was like, I couldn't imagine like my kids going through what I would go through and feeling the way that I felt about myself. And never told anybody about that, never talked to a friend about it. Just what was the next way I could make that feeling go away the next day. That was the choices that I started making.
And you started coping with what you knew and kind of what eventually worked probably right away, which was alcohol does work like immediately. And pain medication and marijuana. So you talked about some of the symptoms of your anxiety, and you already mentioned one of the your heart being pounding against your chest. What else were you feeling on those days in high school? I didn't want to go to school. I needed to find something. What were you trying to, what were those vibrations? Where were they coming from?
Until I actually, when I had my first panic attack playing basketball, I could actually rationalize that, right? Like extreme physical activity, the heart rate, the lightheadedness, shaking hand feeling, like I could rationalize that. That like cracked open a piece of my brain. And then when I started having panic attacks outside of that, that's where it really became scary. Like sitting across from you right now, I'd be sitting with a group of friends, and all of a sudden you could feel like an electrical impulse like in your brain where
get out of there.
100%.
Something's going to happen.
And it's like when you take the on-ramp, there's no getting off that. You're just on this wave of panic until like the panic attack crescendos, and then you start coming back down. So you know for the next 20, 30 minutes, and sometimes they would last hours. And like, you do the research on it now, and you're like, yep, your heart can be, I can do ultra marathons. Your heart can be at 175, 185 for a long freaking time, right? Like, especially when you're well-conditioned athletes, you're like, yeah, the body can withstand a lot. When you're just sitting and you can't make sense of why this just happened, you went from 50 beats a minute to north of 200. I can't emphasize enough, you feel like you're dying. It's adrenaline coursing through your veins. You feel lightheaded and high blood pressure at the same time. Your palms get cold. You get sweaty. You feel like the room's spinning. Like the amount of times I've had to go to one knee just to catch a breath, and like you in public, right? Like you can't go into the fetal position when you're in the middle of an airport and just ride it out. So the amount of times I had to find a bathroom just to, wrap my arms around myself, deep breathe for 10, 15 minutes just to get to a point you can stand up again and go out and face whatever it is you're going through your day. Wouldn't wish it on anybody. And every time I'd have a panic attack, if it's slightly worse than it was before, you feel like, even though you know it's something it's a fight or flight mechanism, it's your natural reaction to fear. This is something your body does produce these chemicals for a reason for. The feeling's so real, it's hard to tell yourself in the moment that everything's fine.
So I'm going to ask you a question here, but I want to paint the picture. There's a high school kid listening right now because they saw sobriety or anxiety or they read through or they heard the promo. Or there's somebody driving in the car right now. They got their hands on 10 and 2, or they got their left hand on 10, and they're wiping their brow right now because they're anxious right now going to work or whatever. You talked about coping during that moment in high school where you got up and excused yourself. Hey, I got to run to the bathroom quick. And you probably sprinted to the bathroom and sat in the stall and just hugged your legs and breathed. And that's how you handle it. And it would eventually go away. What would you share with your 16, 17-year-old self today, right now? What would you say? Hey, Keith, and you're talking to yourself, 16 years old. Here's what I want you to do for the next 2 or 3 minutes, and this is going to subside. What would you tell your younger self right now?
Oh God, I wish I could go back and do that, because I started this path in my brain. Like you tell yourself when I was in a bad place that, oh God, like I'm on the on-ramp. The next 30 minutes are going to be hell. Wish I could have told 18-year-old me, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go see a therapist. After building up the courage to say, hey, I think I have depression and anxiety. Then when you start going, I would park blocks down the road. I literally in my head was convinced that if someone saw my license plate number in a vehicle, like who the hell's looking for that, A? But when you're going to somebody's office, you're like, shit, if somebody drives by and they see my license plate number, that's crazy talk, right? But that's what I thought. So I would park blocks down the road because I was so worried about the stigma of going to see a therapist. I would be seen as weak. I would be seen as someone who wasn't capable of leading a team, wasn't capable of taking care of people, that I would be limited by everybody's other viewpoint. So I continue, even when I reached out for help, I continued to find ways to hide.
Fast forward, you're going through your professional career and professional life, and these bouts of anxiety or panic attacks were sneaking in there, and you're getting some help for it. But you're still continuing to use alcohol to manage, as well as some therapy. In 2023, you started to have a better relationship with alcohol, and ultimately you chose sobriety in December of 2024. Tell our listeners about that path to the better relationship and then ultimately sobriety.
Alcohol for the longest time was the only way that I felt like I could actually connect with somebody. It's hard to emphasize, like if I had a, say, baseline anxiety, 1 to 10, and you wake up every morning and you're at like a 6, that frequency, that vibration that I kind of have like somatically or in my head, sometimes it's hard just to like parse apart thoughts or feel like if I sat down with somebody, I never really felt like a connection when I was just me. I would never classify myself as like a functioning alcoholic, but would binge drink minimum 4 days a week, and was drinking till I could pass out. Would have a drink or two, probably another 1 to 2 nights a week, and anything social had to be get as drunk as possible, because I felt like if I could have 5, 6 drinks, then that frequency would get slowed down. And that was like, there's this little, in my head, there was this little beautiful window of time that I connected with people. You felt like, hey, people would see real you. And even through this like tumultuous time, I always felt like there was something really special inside of me that I was just like, how the hell could I get this out? Like, wasn't dating anybody because I felt like a burden. Didn't want to bring anybody into my life. I would keep close friends at arm's length. And that's actually why I left Milwaukee. Was I bounced around within my company. Every time I got a job opportunity, I would leave, just because I'm like, okay, people are going to figure out real me. So I've been at Milwaukee for 7, 8 years, and I was like, all right, time's up. Like, I got to go to the next thing, because eventually people are going to have to understand why I'm single, why I live such a like sheltered life, why I don't let people in. And like even my closest friends didn't know yet what I was going through. And so I left and moved to Madison, and had moved there about a year before COVID. Just let the first person in to my world, person I was seeing at the time, about what I was struggling through, and tried to start opening up about it, start talking about what depression looked like for me on a daily basis. And ultimately, because of choices I made, that relationship didn't work out. And that's when I really started like bottoming out, because I ran from everything, opened up for the first time, and felt like, hey, opening up, then
maybe I shouldn't have did that.
Right. Like it was a form of rejection. And that hit me super hard. Of like, every book you read tells you like, okay, like once you're vulnerable, then like the world opens up for you. And like, I didn't see it the way I see it now, because I do believe that vulnerability is like a superpower. I really do. The way I handled that relationship was totally decisions that I made, and I recognize that now. But got put back on the shelf, metaphorically speaking. So I felt like, hey, I was like the misfit toy that never going to find a home. Started drinking as much as I ever did when I was in Milwaukee. And a good friend of mine tapped me on the shoulder, so I was in a bad place. And He at the time only knew I was afraid of heights. He didn't know that I had panic attacks, anything physically strenuous. Obviously, you're putting your body through a lot if you're running. I couldn't run around the block. I stayed away from any sort of cardio-based activity because I knew that would spark a panic attack. And he's like, hey, it's COVID. I know you like the outdoors. He's like, he's like, I've always wanted to climb a mountain. He's like, why don't we take this on together? We'll go climb Grand Teton. I know somebody that guides out there. You're in a bad place. Like, this will get your mind focused on something else, and let's have this be something we do together. And so I just knew at the time that I was ready to be done, and I didn't want to hurt myself, but I was like, all right, like if there's truly something wrong with me, I'm facing this down once and for all, and if it's going to kill me, it's going to kill me. And I feel so low right now anyway that I was okay with whatever happened in that moment. And, we'll yada, yada, yada over that long story. It's a podcast for a different day, but summiting Grand Teton and going through that I never, ever, ever imagined, like, post 18 and opening up my world to panic attacks, that would ever be something I'd be able to say, like, was the farthest thing I could imagine from the truth for myself. That was for sure the greatest day of my life. And next day, I've said this in a number of ways, next day was the worst day of my life, because I woke up and I thought that I wouldn't have panic attacks anymore, and that my anxiety would be baseline 1, 0 instead of 6, because, hey, I can overcome anything, right? Like, that's the pie in the sky story that you tell yourself. And then I woke up and had the same knot in my stomach, the same anxious thoughts, the same depressive feelings. I thought it was, you're just cursed. I thought this was going to be a burden that I shouldered and carried forever. So that actually was when I truly, like, 2021, 2022, like, bottomed out as a human being. I would never say, in the same way that I said I would never classify myself as, like, functioning alcoholic, and I would also say I wasn't suicidal, but there was low-level background voice that was whispering to me like probably 100 times a day, if not more, of like, I don't want to be alive anymore. And so I was okay with whatever reckless behavior I was engaging in, because whatever would happen to me as a result, I was simply okay with. And it, like we talked about, like, what then led me to 2023 and having a better relationship with alcohol. A lot of it had to do with the people that were around me. There was one person in particular, and probably two, that never left my side. I had opened up to and started being vulnerable with before I knew I wanted to do anything with Mental Mountains. And they really, like, double clicked and opted in on me as a human being. And, that thing that I said, like, there's something really special inside of me that I was trying to, like, pull out and extract and give to the world. And, I always thought I could be a great husband and great father. And these were things that I felt like couldn't be part of my life, because how could I protect anybody as someone that was going through panic attacks? And how could I be a wonderful father and raise somebody that would, had my mindset or had part of me as part of them, right? And for the first time, people that I thought had it all, when they started opting in and seeing, like, the goodness that I had inside of me, was when I kind of made the active choice that I didn't want alcohol to be something that controlled me anymore. Like, there had to be a path. And I was my happiest when I was training for Grand Teton. That was the first time, like, I felt I had hope. Like, as the more and more I showed up for myself every day, and the training regimen was brutal, I'm like, to get up every day and do some of the things I had to do, I couldn't drink. And it was the first time that I was working towards something, and working towards was the first. I had always just been surviving, and not, a little on the nose for the podcast here, but I've been surviving, and I never was actually trying to better myself and pushing towards some crazy goal like that. Like, in my head, it was just whatever happens to me happens. But also in the back of my mind, I was like, there's like a what if part of me. And that's why the next day was so hard. Because I was like, well, what if I can actually do this? What could my life look like after this? And that what if part became really hard the next day because I thought it was because I was like, oh, I'm going to be depressed and anxious my whole life. It was I just didn't have the thing I was working towards anymore. There was not the feeling of hope, not the feeling of working towards, not bettering myself. That's why I shelved alcohol, because I was like, if I'm going to go after some of these things I want in life, I have way too much shit I care about every single morning. I don't want to wake up with lost time. And there was a part of grief in me that morning after Grand Teton 2, where, I was 35 at the time. And I was like, shit, like 18 to 35, like I just Control-Alt-Deleted. Like I could have showed up at 19 and did this. Like I could have made all these other choices and worked towards these things and had a beautiful life and had a spouse and had a partner. Like I didn't have to do that. So there was all this grief too of like lost time and, days that I spent hungover, fighting a panic attack, days that I couldn't get out of bed because my heart was beating so hard and I felt so weak. I grieved for that version of me and that person that the world didn't get to see for 17 years. But also, my path had to be my path. And if I didn't go through that, like some of the stones that I'm flipping over and looking at now, I never would have.
The one thing when I was so wrapped into what you were sharing, I thought about when you were talking, okay, I got this goal that I'm going to climb the Grand Teton.
Mountain range and mountain.
Mountain range and mountain. I got to thinking that you were training for that just like you were shooting that basketball in the driveway for all those years that you wanted to be a really good basketball player. And you had it in you all along. And I started thinking of Dorothy. She had it in her all along to go back, and all she had to do was click her shoes together. But you can't change the beginning of the book, but you can change the ending. And the ending is going to be so cool in the next, and it's still evolving, but you're doing some great things with Mental Mountains Project, and you're doing some great things, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, for people who are struggling just like you are. The end of the book is going to be really good, whenever that happens to be, but we're still working on it. I want to go back to, you said you were going to stop drinking, and then I'm going to read this, and you already touched on it, but I thought this was really profound, and I want to read it word for word from what you sent me. And it's, quote, "Between the time I lost being hungover and the time and money I spent drinking, I now have a completely different life and can accomplish goals now I would never have dreamed of, as I have a clear purpose and mission each day. I found that I have no excuses to not lead an incredible life with the opportunities I've created by no longer drinking. I have more time, energy, and focus than I have ever dreamed of. Make the world a lot better place for you." And those words and life without alcohol have led to some really cool things. And one of those cool things is creating the Mental Mountains Project. Tell us about that.
Selfishly, it was creating Mental Mountains Project was partly for me, because I knew when I was going towards that goal, I had that sense of hope, something I could grasp onto. And I knew I would have to have something for myself to always work towards, because that feeling of working towards was the happiest I was in my life. So if I was like, you know what, if internally I can't show up and fight for myself, like I always felt like I'd be a great family man. I was like, maybe I can show up and this can be my tribe and I can fight for others and metaphorically be that hand that can reach out and when you're walking by somebody that you see down, reach down, pull them up, and be that person that reached out for somebody that didn't even know they needed it yet. And so like I knew just how much of a burden that was for me, continue to get help. I was starting to make the first inroads of becoming the person I am today, and wanted to create something where I could help support people that needed it most. So I made a decision that we were going to start climbing mountains and raising money every single year, facing down the things that scared me the most, the things that would put me through the most physical pain, the things that I never thought I'd be able to do. And if I show up every single day and put myself through that, I wanted to see like, okay, if there was something truly special inside of me, which I alluded to, I'm like, all right, let's put our money where our mouth is and see if we can't crack this shit open and make Keith Batenhorst somebody that leaves behind a pretty cool legacy and can do something amazing for the world.
And you're helping through your Mental Mountains project. You have a number that you're helping right now, and it's 3.
We have 3. Next year we will have 5. What that looks like is I've when I created that and started raising money, felt like I had a key, and then I was looking for a lock. I'm like, all right, I have this cool idea, and I'm raising money, and now I actually need to like figure out a way. I'm not a practitioner itself. I have to go find people that can make this dream come true. So partnered with a couple really cool clinicians. So one is actually Living Kindness, who was at your event a few weeks back, and the other is Clear Path Counseling that's off Monroe Street in Madison, and we're providing basically, as close to free as we can possibly get. I say that because we do want the clients to have minimal skin in the game to make sure that they're showing up for themselves as well. But basically, extremely subsidized therapy. We have 3 people in the program that get weekly therapy for as long as they want it. I've made that promise to them. I never want to feel like at some point the rug would get pulled out from underneath somebody. But we're going to add 2 more into the program next year with funds that we've raised. So we'll have 5 total. I don't know where this is going to go and where we're going to end up, but I don't have those self-limiting beliefs anymore. I don't have any excuses.
This is where the subscribers, followers, and listeners take out the notebooks, pens, and pencils and jot some things down, and you probably already have, but here are Keith Batenhorst's 5 suggestions that have allowed him to survive and thrive a life with anxiety, and he's been able to navigate that for a long time, and now he's got some coping strategies that I think some of these you can apply to your own life. So here's what you shared with me, and I'm going to toss these in softball style, underhand. Can you hit a softball?
Beach ball, maybe.
Beach ball. Okay. Sometimes when I was in Little League and ball came in really fast, sometimes it looked like a beach ball. Sometimes it looked like a little pill. But I'm going to toss these underhand. I think you'll be able to hit that. I'm going to have you hit these in 60 seconds or less. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 1, keep showing up for yourself every day. Go ahead and hit that in 60 seconds or less.
That's my superpower. There's not one single thing special about me. I started at ground zero with what I've been doing. Climb Kilimanjaro, Mount Blanc, running ultra marathons, trail runs, competing in triathlon events, Ironmans. I started at 0 on all of that and didn't think that I'd ever be somebody that could extract that out of me. And there's so many times I've wanted to quit, from how hard my heart was racing to how terrible I felt to sleepless nights, but showing up to choice, and it's my superpower. And whether that's for, 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, like just stringing together those wins, like if you want to better yourself, it's a choice. And that is the one thing that is special about me, is like I am disciplined, probably to a fault, but I truly believe that everyone can show up for themselves.
Number 2, be vulnerable to those closest to you. Go ahead and hit that.
Yeah, I always felt that if I opened up and talked about real me, that the world would shun me, and then the world would reject that version of myself. And there's absolutely several friends that I know I no longer interact with, whether that was my choice, theirs, probably a little of both. There's for sure people that aren't going to click with everything or not feel like they connect with new version of you, but I can tell you for sure that the right ones will stick around. And those are the people that you want to develop deeper and closer connections with, as to begin with. People that I've recently grabbed coffee with that were like just ships in the night. And, I'll use an example. Somebody that I respected and admired heard about what I was doing 2 months ago and found out that they had the exact same life path as me. and we've subsequently got coffee twice together. It's on the calendar. Every time we get together, it's like, can't wait to do this again. And that would have, had I not opened up, told my story, shared my story, we would have just remained acquaintances. And now I know this is going to be somebody that's going to be a friend for life, somebody that I want there on my wedding day. And you'll develop way more special people around you. And that, like, you don't want your life to look the same anyway, right? Like if you open up and you lose a little bit of your past, most people that are struggling in that, they want to shed that skin anyway. So
Number 3, create a visual wins tracker. You already mentioned this, but go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I touched on that a little bit. Jumped the gun. This is actually a Jerry Seinfeld thing. I heard it on a podcast with him once, and I implement it even now. He took a calendar, and if you wanted to write, for example, he's like, when you have something visual in front of you, like when you start stacking up wins, like I would check the box on the calendar every single day that I worked on my craft. And say if you are struggling drinking or substance abuse, like when you see months and months and months of check boxes on the wall, like you can gamify kind of your life. Like who wants to break that streak?
Number 4, movement can heal. Go ahead and hit that.
Need it. I need it every day. I think for people that, if they are anxious, if they are struggling, if they are depressed, there's a chemical side of this, is that, exercise releases endorphins, and that, hey, getting outside, yeah, you get sunlight, you get all those benefits to being outside. But for me, it was just like, it's my meditation. It's where I can be my best self, where I can turn my brain off. If I can jump on the bike and just go for a ride outside and breathe fresh air, or, hey, run through the Arboretum. My favorite times are just getting outside with my dog, being in nature, going on a hike. It's become truly like therapeutic for me, and it's where I can be at peace as a human being.
Number 5, start talking to yourself and stop listening to yourself. This is one of my favorite things. Go ahead and hit that.
There's 2 parts to this, and I can't believe it took me so long to actually figure this out. So the first way this was poised to me was, would you talk to your kids? Would you talk to your spouse? Would you talk to your best friends the way you would talk to yourself internally? Of course I wouldn't, right? Like, how hard in between the moments of striving, reaching for something, do you tell yourself you can't do it? This isn't meant for me. You're a failure. Why are you even trying to go after this? And then when I first heard that, I was like, ugh. I spend so much time building other people up around me. I lead a team professionally, and all you're doing is encouraging them and giving them the reasons they can reach for whatever. You see the talent in them. And then myself is just negative self-talk every single day. And then the second way was, are you talking to yourself, or are you listening to yourself? And when you start slowing that process down and actually lifting yourself up, having positive self-talk, like not to do the SNL Stuart Smalley thing, or like I'm good enough and gosh darn it, people like me. But if you would actually like say something out loud negative, like I can almost feel my body go into like that fight or flight. You go in like the fetal position. Like I can feel things internally, like, ratchet down. And then when you tell yourself like all the positive things of like, you're okay, you can reach for this, like you can have confidence going after this, you can have confidence in this event. It does actually, like, if you're talking to yourself about reaching towards something and like propelling yourself forward, all those anxiety feelings wash away. Like anxiety is trying to stop you from doing something, prevent you from doing something. Like physically, your body will have like a visceral reaction to that. But if you're reaching towards something and like thinking about the things you enjoy, which is the reason you're doing this hard thing in the first place, you'll have the opposite visceral reaction to that. And it took me a long, long time to figure that out.
What an episode. I'm so glad you could join the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew today. Your story and how you managed to work through your anxiety and some depression is is really inspiring, especially the stuff you're doing now. Your story reminds us all to have coping skills or mental health tools in the toolbox when a person is met with life's challenges. And despite that, you are surviving and thriving. Our call to action: Keith Batenhorst just shared a story and how he had to improve his relationship with alcohol. Since then, he has endured and persevered. Here are Keith Batenhorst's 5 suggestions that helped him survive and thrive. Number 1, keep showing up for yourself every day. Number 2, be vulnerable to those closest to you. Number 3, create a visual wins tracker. Number 4, movement can heal. And number 5, start talking to yourself and stop listening to yourself. Final thoughts as we close another great episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. Are there any final thoughts, Keith Batenhorst?
Yeah, I really hope that what I've been able to do doesn't seem unattainable. Like, I've read millions of books, tons of podcasts, like all the inspirational things. And for years and years, I was like, well, yeah, easy for you to say, or that person is inherently different than I am. There's no way that I can. You'd be like, hey, that's great, but you don't know me. I'm living embodiment that anybody can do what I'm doing. Like, I could not get out of bed, could not run around the block. Going to get groceries was hard for me. And so as somebody that's climbing mountains, doing ultra marathons, some of the places I've been in the world, I not in my wildest dreams thought I'd even be alive today, let alone on a podcast telling my story. I just want everybody to know that, like, if you feel too like there's something really special inside of you, like, that's what made me most depressed, was like, I wish I had a second shake at life, and I wish I had the ability to, I resented my anxiety, I resented that because I felt like it limited my life. And I still have panic attacks. I still have to do deep breathing exercises. Like this morning, running around 7 miles. Yep. Every second of that, I'm fighting back those precursors to anxiety, tension in my body. It's not gone. I don't know if it'll ever go away. It's going to be a really long journey for anybody that chooses to go down that journey. But I promise that it'll be a gift, because it's going to force you to look under stones to truly figure this out. And it's going to put you on a path. Like, if I always wanted to be normal, wished I would have been normal, wished I had a normal life. And yeah, I for sure would have had white picket fence life with a couple kiddos and a pup running around and probably watching the Packer game this afternoon. I was forced to, I didn't want normal ever. Who wants normal? Like, now I'm on a path that I could be something I would have never dreamed of in my wildest dreams.
Good stuff. On our next episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, we will have another amazing guest in the Buck and Honey's remote studios who will share how they learn to survive and thrive. If you have a story to share, or you know someone who does, please reach out to me at tdecora@gmail.com. Until next time, hang in there with whatever you happen to be going through, and with hard work, dedication, and determination, you can survive and thrive. Until next time, take care.